taking care of yourself mentally and physically is so incredibly important.
Even that alone is so much value to that business owner.
I don't want to live in a world where everything I see online from someone is not actually from them.
Allie, for you, what is that next big thing that you're doing to shape the destiny that's meaningful for you? I am incredibly excited about today's episode. My guest is Allie Bloyd. She's the founder of Allie Bloyd Media. Not only has she made millions through her own sales funnel and digital marketing efforts, she has also helped her clients collectively make over $100 million in revenue. She's won all the awards, the 2 Club Awards, the HighLevel Awards, and she's been on some incredible stages like the Traffic and Conversion Summit. I am incredibly excited to have her here today. Listening, you're going to learn a lot about AI, what's working, what's not, automations, how to sell systems to local businesses, and much more. So I'm excited to dive in. Allie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I am thrilled to be here in person, which is not common. So
that's right.
It's a great opportunity.
In our world, we spend a lot of time on screens.
We sure do. I actually, the last 2 days, tried to disconnect from everything because I'm like, it is so incredibly rare that I'm not tethered to one screen or another. And it's just, it's hard to get away from it, but being able to be in person, I think is so incredible, which is one reason I love events is just, the energy that you get from being around people who are like-minded and who are doing similar things. There's just really nothing else like it. So thank you so much for having me.
Of course. I'm really glad you're here and I love doing this format. And actually, in fact, last night I was with a group of friends and we were talking about the things we see on screen now may be AI.
Yeah.
We may not actually know what we're seeing, if what we're seeing is a real person, if it's real. Mm-hmm. I mean, we saw the Anthropic ads coming out.
It's a very weird time to be alive and be in business and, the good and the bad that can come from both of it. But totally feel you on that.
So I think it's going to be a resurgence for actually being live in person, real in the 3D with
people
with one
crave
another.
Genuine human connection. And I think that's the difference is knowing where is AI best used and where is it not? And it really should just free us up to do the things that human beings are designed to do more than anything, not replace it, because I don't want to live in a world where everything I see online from someone is not actually from them, from their head. You want to genuinely get to know people, and it's going to make it more challenging if people don't recognize that now, I think.
That's right. Well, let's talk about AI. What's hype versus what are real solutions you're seeing for businesses today?
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so much on both sides. I think the first thing is that it is so incredibly easy for people to get overwhelmed because it changes so quickly. There's always a new tool that's coming out. There's always another shiny object that someone's talking about saying that this is the thing you need. This is life-changing.
Yep.
I think just the mental space that takes from people as a whole is such a negative. I do a lot of coaching. I've got a coaching program, a mastermind. I see this from my own students so often.
Yeah.
They're so worried about being left behind that they try and stay on top of it. But the truth is, if you're genuinely running a business, you can't spend all of your time researching and trying these new tools.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it's the right solution is the solution for what you need right now. It's not about trying to go out of your way to find something cool that you can do with it. It's looking at your own life or your own business and saying, what are the problems that I'm experiencing?
Yes.
Is there a solution that AI could help me with regarding this situation? And if so, what is the best tool for that solution? What is the best process for that solution? Right. So people, I think about it backwards a lot of times. They're looking at AI first and then trying to figure out how to apply it, when really it's, what do I need help with? And then how do I find the right solution with AI that applies to that situation to either get me through that situation faster, cheaper, or better, or ultimately, that eliminates the problem moving forward, which I think is where the real advantages lie. So, we were just kind of talking about me sharing a lot about the different struggles that I've had in my business over the years. And in 2024 at the end, so it was right after Level Up. I mean, 2024 was a year, 2025 was a year, but totally different in terms of the things that I was experiencing in my business and the specific challenges that I was looking for solutions for. And so when I went to that event, I went there with the mindset of, I'm going to be so open and transparent about everything that I'm going through, because I know that could be the spark for a conversation that gives me the solution or the connection to the person that I need for these different things. And so that's what I did. And I had so many conversations, and they were incredible. And after that event, like on the way home, I mean, my mind was just on fire. I was like buzzing. It was 10 o'clock when I got home that night, and I couldn't sit still. I knew that everything that I'd been talking about with people, that there were solutions that were going to come from that. So that night I'm laying in my bed trying to sleep, couldn't sleep. At 3 a.m., I just do like a 2-hour brain dump just into my notes on my phone.
Okay.
I'm the kind of person that like, if it's stuck in my head, I'm not sleeping. I've got to just write it out.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And what I discovered from all of that was that there is an AI solution for every single thing that I'm experiencing. How am I going to tie it all together?
Yeah.
So that began the project that I'm still currently working on, which is really a fully automated AI sales and marketing system that's purely dynamic and personalized. It's self-learning, self-optimizing. So if I'm talking about like large scale applications, that's the biggest application that I've ever identified, but it's not an easy task. You know,
Certainly.
I'm more than a year into it now, and it's still not done, but I believe in it so strongly that like, I'm going to keep going no matter what happens. But on a smaller scale, every single thing that I want the system to do, you know, it exists in its own little silo as well. My goal was like, how do I tie all these together? So all of the data from every area of our business is being taken into account. But from a sales perspective, I think this is one of the first things that I was looking at, because I had a big challenge with finding the right closers for my business. I mean, I'd hired, you know, Jay Shetty's former sales manager, like someone who's supposed to be perfect on paper, yet he and his closers that I brought in, like they couldn't close a deal to save their life.
So on calls, on Zoom calls, on phone calls to close clients. So I just want to back up for a second. When you were thinking AI, you didn't first think, what can I sell all of my clients? You thought, how can I solve my own business problems first and then learn how to apply that to other businesses?
Absolutely. Because I knew that everything I was dealing with, especially from having those real and in-person conversations, which is critical.
Yes.
You know, it's very easy for us to think, okay, this is just a problem I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
But that's not true. These are problems everyone is dealing with at all different sizes. I mean, I was talking to a digital marketer, like about the same challenges that I was talking to this almost solopreneur about, you know, that I was also experiencing. These are universal problems in business, and it does become so easy for us to feel like we're the only one dealing with it. So my first goal was, how do I solve my own problems?
Right.
But I knew that if I solved my own problems, that then in and of itself becomes something that I will sell to other people to solve their problems.
So you were saying the closing situation wasn't totally working for you. Have you been able to solve that with the help of AI?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I wanted to do on the sales side was...
What's going on, Destiny Makers? I just wanted to take this quick commercial break sponsored by, well, me. If you've been hearing these stories and you are inspired and want to actually start crafting your destiny and building, especially if you build for other clients and you want to dive in more with resources, I have a completely free workshop and masterclass to invite you to, as well as the Kismet Club, where you can go deeper and we can turn this fun and this magic into daily support. So come check it out, kismet.club, and I'll see you on the inside.
Create a system that made it as easy as humanly possible for someone to close a high ticket deal.
Okay.
And the other piece of this is the coaching and the training and the reporting from sales in general, because if every deal is worth a lot of money, you need to make sure that everything is tracked, that everyone is followed up with in the right way at the right time.
Okay.
Closed with the right approach, because everybody is different. You know, one person buys logically, another buys emotionally. One person buys based on the goals they want to achieve, whereas another person buys based on the problems they want to get rid of right now. You know, everybody's, they've got different buying motivations. And so the the solution on that front was, first and foremost, how do I reduce the need for high ticket closers to the bare minimum?
Okay.
Because I didn't want to keep running into the same challenge, which at the end of the day is a people challenge. And that's, people are not always loyal. You know, you get a great person in, you can't expect them to stay forever.
They're also not always in a good mood.
Exactly.
They're also not always available to work.
For sure. So one of my best closers, she was with me for 2 years. I actually connected with her through a mastermind that I was in. She was like a marketing director for a company who was also in the mastermind.
Okay.
She heard me talking about these challenges with these closers that I was having, and she reached out and said, "Hey, like, I think I can do this. I'd like to try."
Yeah.
So she had no previous sales experience, but she did have marketing experience. So we worked together and she crushed it. She was in the UK, so we had a time difference, which I'm used to working with people with time differences, but it is harder when you're working on an Eastern time zone schedule with someone in the UK, especially. She was part-time for the longest time because she still had this job. So I was very, very excited about her. She did amazing things. We worked really well together. She started her own business. She does sales coaching. She works with other people. You find a rock star, you can't expect they're going to stay with you forever because people have their own goals, their own aspirations. I've been so blessed to have someone who has been with me for 3.5 years now, who's somebody that I knew before I started my business. I met her when I was 19 working at Cracker Barrel, and we have remained friends for a long time. And I convinced her to quit her job and work for me and do sales for the first time. And she was terrified, but she had nothing to lose. And she is loyal to a fault. And she and I know that we will do things together moving forward. Like, she's not just another closer to me. And she has been such a constant, and I'm so thankful for her, but I know not everybody's like that.
Yeah.
And I've seen that. I've also had really big challenges with male closers, you know, and I didn't know if that was just me or what the situation was. But the more conversations I had with people, the more I realized, no, it was not just me, that everyone was finding that for whatever reason, females were doing the best job on the high ticket closing side. But it's unusual because females are the smallest percentage of high ticket closers.
It's interesting. Could be our emotional intelligence.
I think emotional intelligence is huge. I think the listening aspect,
the empathy,
which is critical to truly diagnosing, and not having sometimes like an ego that goes into it. Females are less likely to have high pressure sales tactics, things like that. So, you know, that had been my experience. The best success I'd had been with females. I'd hired plenty of males, just didn't work out for one reason or another. But again, I found I was not the only one who saw this. But my goal was, how do I not just stay on this repeating cycle of find a great closer, invest this time, money, energy, training them, getting appointments for them to see if they do a good job, number one, which is financially a risk. But also, even if I do find someone great that stays and they leave, then I'm back. I have to do it all over again.
So what have you practically implemented in terms of AI to step yourself in that direction?
A lot of it has been dynamic personalization from all of the data that we have on people. There are real insights that can be drawn from those things that tell us who they are, why they buy, what they need, what are their levers, you know, that this is what they will do in order to accomplish this goal or get rid of this problem.
So a lead coming into the system, are you using an AI tool to go enrich that data, look at their spending habits, have Perplexity going deeper into who they are? Or are you just taking what you know from the behaviors that they've done on your own website? Like,
so it's a little bit of both. Okay. So the system that I'm working on called Profits AI, the enrichment is a component of that. That is not fully launched yet.
Okay.
But that will be a component. The other piece is understanding that everything anyone does in terms of interacting with you or your business, it tells you something about them. So paid ads is one of my primary focuses. You know, you run different ads with different angles that appeal to different types of people or focus on different problems as kind of the primary problem or different solutions.
Got it. You're taking that information to
simple act of them clicking on that ad, it already tells you something about him. Most people are never capturing that data or using that data in any way. But also the dynamic elements within the funnel itself. So one of the elements that I'm most excited about with this system is a fully dynamic, personalized funnel, like one funnel. You need one funnel.
Okay.
And that one funnel will be unique to every individual that comes through it, depending on which ad did they click, which offer is that ad for, what is the best next step for this individual based on what are they engaging with on a page level? Are they going through a lot of the social proof sections, spending more time there?
Interesting.
Are they engaging more on the payment options? Are they more of a price sensitive shopper? Are they someone who is an emotional buyer? You know, all of these things you can learn simply by their behavior.
That's super fascinating. What's the tech structure behind that?
It's a mixture of things, but honestly, HighLevel alone has given us so much of what we need to do this without even being some crazy AI developer.
Right.
You know, it's more so a matter of, do you understand psychology? Do you understand how humans work and their buying patterns? Do you understand the tech enough to create unique solutions with what already exists for us to be able to do it? So it is a mixture of third-party tools and APIs and webhooks, and also internally some of the solutions that HighLevel has already given us, but using them in a way that they haven't been used before. So that's that one piece, along with conversational AI, voice AI, that is also doing the same thing.
Yeah. Are you dabbling in outbound yet? Are you having AI actually call out to a lead
so
that
we
comes
started
in?
doing this last February, and I've tried multiple outbound voice AI platforms at this point. The one that I have found that I like the best is called Taurus. It was actually, so I had been using a call center for our appointment setting. The woman who owned the call center, she saw the writing on the wall with AI and voice calling. So she created this platform called Taurus for voice AI.
Okay.
So this was before HighLevel's outbound came out. I needed an outbound solution. I was like, I'm also tired of setters. So like setters, closers, can I just bang my head against the wall a little bit more? Because I keep like, it's a people problem, and it's a, you know, it's not a long-term job. So you're in that same situation of finding, onboarding, training, monitoring. They do okay or they don't, but then you got to do it again.
Right.
So
just the whole, there's a whole nother conversation around how AI is not only solving problems, but it is replacing people.
It is.
Which is, I mean, a long-term where we're headed is just mind-blowing. But real quick on the outbound and inbound voice AI, what are you seeing actually work? Because, you know, if I get a robocall, click, hang up. I'm not interested.
Yep.
What are you doing there? What have you tested? What do you see working, not only for your business, but maybe even like average small business in America?
Absolutely. So for us personally, and this was, you know, with anything I do, I'm going to test it internally first, because I've got enough similarities with the people that I work with that if it works for me, odds are it's going to work very similarly with them. So my first challenge was, number one, what is the platform that sounds the most natural? Where if I get this call, I don't know it's AI.
Okay.
And I am not immediately hanging up. So many of them, you know, the latency issues with, you know, you can just tell even if it doesn't come right out and say
delayed. Yeah, exactly.
And also once again, the personalization based on what did this person do? Yeah. What offer did they engage with? And what does that tell us about them, so that this conversation is not generic? Right. It's not like hey, saw you were interested, just wanted to see if you wanted to book a call. Totally. It's not that at all. Yeah. So my first challenge was just platform. Taurus, I was excited to be like one of their very first people who ever used it. Yeah. It is a different structure and setup than a lot of other platforms. And so just trying to really understand how it worked. It does directly integrate into HighLevel, which was great. But my next thing was, okay, I've got a lot of different offers. Like we have multiple core offers, but I have so many front end offers, webinars, challenges, lead magnets, all these different things. Some of them are running all the time, or they're promoted through email on a regular basis, or they're promoted organically, even if I don't have campaigns running. So my goal was, how do I do this in a way where I don't have 30 something different campaigns? Because if I want to update anything in the core of the script, that would be a nightmare. So I first created an extremely extensive single outbound prompt script that would work for any of my offers, that would still allow it to be super, super personalized. And it was really, really good, but it was really large. It was like 46 pages of prompt.
Wow. Yeah.
So it worked. I created a workflow in HighLevel where essentially I created several specific custom fields that were updated based on the actions people were taking.
Okay.
And that would be their entry point, the thing they did. So did they opt in? Did they abandon cart? Did they purchase? Like, did they register? What did they do? Okay. And then what is our greeting for that person based on what they did? So it's super specific.
Okay.
So these custom fields are updated on every action somebody takes. Then it sends them into the voice AI flow where those initial opening questions are unique to that person and what we know about them. It's also looking at other data we already have on them, pre-qualifying. So that worked really well. You can clone your own voice. You can use other voices, but I loved it because it sounded so natural. The background noise sounds very natural. Yeah. It's not dead silent. That's another kind of giveaway. Yeah, kind of weird. The latency was not bad. And it just did a really good job.
So you're finding that people are actually interacting when they pick up that call.
I think I had made like 60K extra from it in like the first 30 days.
Amazing.
So it was booking calls really consistently.
Yeah.
People did not know it was voice AI. So what I don't like about HighLevels, I'd been waiting for HighLevels to come out. Mm-hmm. At that point, I was like, I need a solution now. I don't know when it's coming out. Sure. So let's just keep moving and we'll see. And whatever we learn from that, if we like HighLevels, we'll be able to apply that.
Yeah.
So it did come out. Obviously, I think for HighLevels inbound, I think it's totally fine. For outbound, I do not love that it announces itself as voice AI at the beginning.
Okay.
I don't, because most people, they haven't had great experiences with voice AI.
Yeah.
And so even if your experience would be better, they're already opposed to it in a lot of ways. And that's not a requirement legally, but they're obviously trying to ensure that they are super tight on their stuff.
Well, they're so integrated with U.S. phone carriers. They don't want to do anything wrong or get into hot water.
And so I totally get that, but I don't love it from like an experience perspective.
So to be clear, you're using this other tool because it really just approaches your people better. But these are all people who have opted in or clicked or they've landed there, right?
They've all opted in.
But you're not buying cold lists of people and just dialing them up with AI, right?
Because that's illegal. Like you can't do that. And people obviously can, but they're going to get in trouble and the laws are going to start to be a lot more strict about this. So no, every single person that we call has opted in. They have agreed to be contacted through AI, through text, through phone. And I think it's another reason why it's like, this is powerful, but it's another reason why every business should be building their list. Every business should be focusing on getting people to opt in, even for a simple lead magnet, so that they now have this warm list of people that they can call and they can engage. And so, we saw amazing results with it. What I found in the early stages was, this is too complex for me to really teach to my students and clients. And not even just that it was too complex. My structure was way more complex than theirs was going to need to be.
Sure.
But from a cost perspective, they're more focused on working with agencies. There's a licensing fee. However, we are now going to be offering that to clients and students because you can have sub accounts through your own account. So I won't make them sign up for their own agency license.
I see.
They can do it through mine, even if they're not on our SaaS, even if they have their own HighLevel or another system, like they integrate with Follow Up Boss and Keep and all of these other products. And so this is something that we're now finally going to be pushing out on a larger scale. But initially my goal was, how do I get people to use it and get the benefits without it seeming too expensive, overwhelming, or complicated? So even before HighLevels did come out, Thinker was another option that we tried. Mm-hmm. Thinker is much simpler to set up.
Yeah.
For certain businesses, it could be sufficient. It was not sufficient for what we needed it for. Yeah. It's also relatively new. And at the end of the day, almost all of these solutions are new. So like
you have to keep that in mind.
Yes. Like there's going to be bugs. There's going to be things that don't work perfectly. And you have to know that going into it. So it's like you want to let it do everything it can, but not depend on it to where this could make or break whatever you're doing.
That's true.
Because things can happen, and they do. They do happen.
That's I think one of the reasons why I wanted to sort of zoom out and look at automation, because obviously whatever we're setting up for businesses or for our own business with AI, it's one touch point of many. And so you're also automating text messages, automating emails, automating the retargeting from ads that you're running. And I talk about just a little bit in general. So we've got a lot of folks in my audience that are listening that might just consider themselves a web designer or a freelancer. And maybe they're just sort of building the beautiful designs. Why should they embrace building automation systems? Like, what are the simplest things that you sell over and over and over again that businesses really need?
Well, I will say that the web space, as you know, is changing entirely.
Yeah.
You know, what someone used to need a web designer for, let's be honest, not everybody needs it anymore.
Right.
If you are tech savvy enough, you can build your own AI site in a day. You know, and not everybody is that tech savvy, and they're not going to do that, and they're terrified of tech. I think that this is a crucial moment for people in the web design space to see themselves in a different way.
Absolutely.
Because you are not just a web designer. You are the front-facing representation of this business.
Exactly.
The messaging, the experience, the site itself, but as a conversion mechanism, because that was, you know, that's always been one of the biggest issues with traditional websites, is that you've got designers who might be designing them for visuals, maybe for speed, maybe for SEO, you know, depending on who you are. But most commonly, they have never been designing them for conversions. You know, that's where your funnel, that's your funnel builder who understands the assignment where that's concerned. The client was never demanding that, you know,
client didn't know.
Yeah. The client didn't know. And so the designer did what they thought was best. And maybe it was great for what they thought the assignment was.
For that season, you know, I mean, 12, 13 years ago, that was about all that was needed. That's why
you needed a website. If people were going to go, like, and you were already a step ahead, if you had something that was cool, but we're just not there anymore.
That's why I keep telling people to shift their mind from thinking of themselves as a web designer to a digital architect. Because you're building infrastructure.
Exactly.
Online.
The website is the starting point of the business's online infrastructure.
Right.
And
it's like walking into a beautiful, you know, gallery or a clothing store. That's the website, the design of it. But if you didn't have plumbing or electricity in that building, it would be a poor experience.
If no one could actually make the payment,
swipe their credit card,
exactly,
get the receipt, follow up with that.
So the conversion element, I think, has been largely ignored in the past. I don't think it can be ignored anymore. But even if a client doesn't come to you saying this is what they want, the truth is the only reason someone is in business is because they care about generating leads and making sales. That's their goal.
So true.
Their website is the first line of defense, and sometimes the second, you know, because social media can be that very first experience to get them to the site. But if it is not generating leads, pre-qualifying if necessary, moving them as far as humanly possible in the sales process, it's not doing its job.
That's 100%. Yeah.
But the problem is that a site on its own can't do all of that.
No, and especially if you're plugging in a ton of tools together, hoping that Zapier is not going to break. It will. Hint, spoiler alert, it's not a matter of if, but when. You're going to have to go in and tinker with it and fix it. And then the business owners are incredibly confused. Where do I log in? Where was I supposed to see that thing? I don't understand where my people are. And I really think you're so right. I had a conversation the other day, even in this day and age, 2026, somebody got on a Zoom call with me, a business owner out in California, and said, we need a better website, but I just need it to be a brochure. That was literally his word. And I said, well, tell me why.
Oh, why?
Tell me why. Well, it doesn't generate any leads. Isn't that precisely the reason why we should turn this into a full-blown system?
Exactly. And so businesses want solutions. Like they don't even want a website.
Right.
They don't even want social media ads. They don't want whatever it is we're selling.
Right.
All they want is more leads, more customers, less time that they spend, more profit, less money that goes into it. That is what makes the world go round. And so some business owners are not consciously aware of that. Which is crazy, but they're not. It's exactly like that client. They're like, I just need this to be a brochure because it's not generating leads. don't you want it to though?
Exactly.
Don't you want it to do that?
Asking those questions are so important. And I think too, to look at, like you said, some just want time back. They're doing all this manual effort and things are so inefficient. They're copying things down. They're writing things that just, even that alone is so much value to that business owner. It means they're home with their family earlier for dinner, right? They actually get to take a weekend and like let their mind go on a vacation for a moment. I mean, that it's so invaluable.
Well, and that's again, all going back to like the buying levers and the things that people truly value in this life from a sales perspective. Because again, you're not selling a website. You're not selling a digital system. You're selling freedom, you're selling time, you're selling the ability for someone to enjoy their life, for them to not be stressed or anxious or worried at night. They can provide for their family, for their team. You know, people who have employees feel this huge sense of responsibility to those people.
Absolutely.
And how are they supported? They're supported by the business making more sales. That's going to alleviate so much. So I think that the infrastructure behind it is critical. It cannot be ignored. If you are ignoring it as a designer or a builder, you're leaving not only so much money on the table, but you're doing a huge disservice to your clients because they do not understand it most of the time.
Right.
And they don't need to understand all of it. They just need to understand that I want to save time. I want more leads. I want more sales. I want higher profits. I want things to work without a person having to do everything.
Exactly.
So whether it's them or a team member they hire, which means they pay, that person doesn't have to be fired. They can do other more valuable things that AI or automation can't do. So it's all about like just efficiency and putting humans in the places where they are best utilized, where they want to be anyway.
That's right.
Nobody wants to be doing manual data entry. Like anybody who says that's their passion, they're lying. And I've never heard anyone say that because that's not what they genuinely want. People want to feel like they have a purpose, like what they're doing is making an impact. And those mundane, monotonous tasks, that gives no one a sense of purpose in their life.
Yeah.
So I think
in the day, right, AI and automation really are buying that time back. They're so underlooked for the majority of people. We have to evolve in this way, like you said, because websites are created now in a blink. The systems that you sell, and thank goodness for the HighLevel opportunity, because we now have one place to log into.
HighLevel,
our clients have one place to log into.
Has changed the game entirely, and it's given 100%. People. It's given business owners and people like us just this opportunity that we never had before. And it's remarkable. Yeah. But you know, like last night was a Super Bowl. One of the commercials I saw multiple times was for GenSpark AI. And the whole premise was, oh, let AI do your work. And now you get to leave work early. Now you get to have that day off. Now you get to have that weekend. And I loved it because that's the messaging. That's the messaging. Show people the time it's going to save them and the freedom it gives them back in their daily life, because that's what they care about. As a business owner, you also care about the financials, you know? So you want to know that you're not just saving time, which does save you money, but that you're making more. And it's got huge applications for that. Even AI, like if we just separate AI for a second, just the automations and the system architecture alone with the website, you don't even have to do anything with AI for it to be really effective.
That is so true. And the number of businesses that don't have anything automated.
Yes, it's really the simple stuff, you know, because we're in a time right now where things are so advanced and getting more advanced every day. But the average business owner is not even close to where we are. Like what we're thinking about, what we're looking at. They just want a calendar that somebody can book on their website that gives them reminders, that puts them in the right pipeline stage, that nurtures them, helps them show up, helps them follow up. They want to track who shows up, who doesn't, who closes, who doesn't. Let me take payments and contracts in one place. It is literally the basics.
It really is.
So you don't have to be an AI expert. You don't even have to be close. You just need to understand like the fundamental automations that, you know, I was a marketing director for 5 years before I started my business. And this was like it was such a valuable time in my life because it helped me see firsthand something I still see every day, which is how do businesses who look successful on the outside operate on the inside?
Sure.
How inefficient is it?
Yeah.
How much are you leaving on the table?
Right.
I had to use 8 to 10 different platforms just to get what HighLevel gives us today.
Yeah.
I didn't have HighLevel for that business. So I was doing Zaps. I was doing all of the things. And yes, it worked, but I couldn't teach it to anybody. Nobody knew how to fix it when it broke. It was so heavily dependent on me, even though it was doing all of this automatically.
Yeah.
I was still the bottleneck there because no one else who didn't set it up knew how it worked. Then I get to the point where I'm coaching people and teaching people.
Yeah.
I'm like, even with all of the share templates and every, step-by-step walkthroughs, like it's going to be very difficult for the average business owner to put all of this together. And thank the Lord, that was at the exact moment I discovered HighLevel.
Yeah.
And it changed everything from that point forward. But it really is like, if you can understand how business sales processes work.
Right.
Just understand the sales process. That is the most important thing you can possibly do.
Yeah.
Understand psychology, how people operate. If you are at the bottom of the funnel and you're ready to go versus if you're at the top of the funnel and you're still in information gathering. Right. How can we have something that appeals to everyone, that gets them in at the right time based on the stage they're in, gives them the right nurture, the right next steps.
That's it.
Tracks them so we don't forget about them, because not everybody is going to close right away.
That's right.
I mean, I've told this story a couple times recently because I think it's such a perfect illustration of how real business actually works. I think it was the very first call I ever had for my business, like as a business owner. And he just signed up for my mastermind like 4 months ago. That was 7.5 years ago.
7.5 years of nurture.
The reason he signed up is because I kept emailing him, because I never disappeared. Powerful. I stayed there. I stayed connected. Powerful. And yes, that's not what we want. Nobody wants to wait 7.5 years for a conversion. But there are people on your list right now that won't convert for 7.5 more years. And are you going to be the one they give their money to or not?
Right.
So it's just a balance of capturing the highest priority short-term closes that you can, but understanding that there are people all in between. And if you only focus on this little sliver, you're selling yourself short. You're leaving so much on the table. And those people, if you truly believe you've got the best solution for them, you're doing them a disservice, because they're not going to get it at the end of the day. There's too much noise in the world for people to be thinking about you if you don't make a point to stay in front of them. And that's what these systems give you the ability to do. Yeah. If I can capture someone who is interested at any point in time, in any product or service, at any level of awareness, and make sure that this person will not be forgotten about, that this person will continue to get real value from me, not just sales, but real value, then I know they will be getting the right outcome if they buy, and I will be making the most of my money or time, whatever I spent to acquire that person in the first place. A click is not free. It took somebody's time to create the content that brought it in, or it takes somebody's money on the ads to bring them in. So you either value that and say, I'm going to squeeze the juice out of every single thing I have, or you don't. And most people don't, but it's simple fixes. Like mapping that out first, I think, is the most valuable thing you can do as a funnel builder, systems architect, web designer. It's like, who are your people? Where are they at? At all different stages. What do they need next? What are the things that are holding them back? How can we, kind of oil the wheels, grease the wheels to make it easier for them to get from this stage to the next, and then this stage to the next? And so it's just the simple fundamentals so often. But it was an issue of just technical complexity for so many people before, and it's not that way anymore.
It's not now. Exactly. And I want everybody listening to hear that, because that is why I continue to share resources around HighLevel, how to raise your prices as a web designer by serving the business owner better.
Yes.
And when it comes to automation, it can feel a little bit intimidating at first, but I always think of it in 3 buckets. And you can sort of think of it as like before, during, and after. What happens before somebody becomes a client, when they're during that process, because the more you love on people when they become a client, the more they refer other people.
Absolutely.
And then after, whether it's requests for referrals, reviews, and then, next upselling them. Yeah, exactly. And so, like prospecting, onboarding, and then I call it next boarding, because you're not really ever offboarding someone. If you care about them
retention
deeply,
or ascension.
Exactly. You're giving them other options to go along the process with you. So, well, I absolutely love this. I know we could talk for absolute days about all of this stuff. Just because I believe that mindset is such a huge, important part of this, can you talk about how you even got, you're talking about APIs, you're talking about third-party tools, you're talking about outbound AI. You could not have possibly started there.
No.
Where did you start? How'd you get into this?
Oh, it's a long story. It's an interesting story. So I originally thought I was going to be a doctor or a nurse, practitioner, anesthesiologist. I have always been pretty book smart. I got straight A's without trying. And I was always really good in math and science. And that's just what everyone told me I should do. Oh, you should go in the medical field, job security, you get, you make a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. At that point, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life truly. And so I was like, sure, that makes sense. And I am super interested in anatomy and physiology and all of those things. But I have been a writer from the time I could hold a pencil. I mean, I've been doing creative writing my entire life. It's been the constant where no one ever had to tell me to write. I was going to do it. I couldn't not write. That's just how I made sense of the world. So I've always been creative. My brother was an amazing artist, like drawing, painting, he does tattoos. Like he actually has tattooed Lamar Jackson, fun fact. And like a lot of NFL and NBA players and stuff. But he was always like the creative in my mind. That was his lane. I didn't see myself that way.
It's interesting how we do that with siblings. We all
absolutely. I was so jealous of his skills. He was jealous of my skill. It's like, but you have to embrace what you've got. So long story short, I started my college path with that in mind. My best friend at the time, her mom got diagnosed with breast cancer. So I ended up spending some time in the hospital when she was going through that. And I'm so glad that I did, because I had never spent much time in a hospital before. And I realized so quickly, this is not for you.
Yeah.
This is not the environment you will thrive in. You will literally, your soul will be sucked out of you.
Yeah.
I'm also a super deeply feeling person. And I knew that just being around so much sadness, I would not be able to leave it at work.
Wow, what a blessing that you were immersed in this situation. So many young people choose a career path that they've never immersed themselves in.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for it. So at that moment, I knew this is not what I'm going to do, and I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do.
Okay.
So I took a semester off to try and figure it out. During that time, so I love animals. I had like several dogs. They were pit bulls, like larger breed American bullies. So I was like, I want to start a dog clothing company.
Okay.
All right. So I still actually want to start this business. I have wanted to start this business for the last 15 years, and the timing never felt right. And maybe one day it will. But it's a brand. It's a whole brand. Like it is, there's nothing else like it even today. So I got that idea. I was super excited about it. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to need to learn graphic design so I can make these designs. I'm going to need to learn how to build a website. I'm going to need to learn social media. So I bought a program called Corel Draw, and I taught myself how to use this program. Yeah. I fell in love with it. It felt like the perfect culmination of everything that I love to do.
Yeah.
I found that this was my artistic element. I had never seen that in myself before, but it's because I never had the right format.
Right.
Writing, love writing. I was making up commercials and like commercial jingles when I was 6 years old. Like advertising has always been something I've been interested in. And I found that like this ties everything that I love to do all in one place. So I found a program at Sullivan, and it was for graphic design and marketing. And I decided to go back to school for that. I am so thankful that I did, not just that I changed my major, but like I had a lot of very wild and chaotic years when I was younger, and the colleges I had gone to were not good for that. Sullivan was very structured. It was year round. It was just a very different school, and it was the type of school that I needed. We had zero tests. Everything was project based.
That's nice.
Do you know the material? Can you apply the material or not?
Right. Create something.
Yes. Create something.
Instead of just tell me, report it back.
Yes.
Or term papers. Mm-hmm. That was me in grad school. I could not convince. When I went to grad school, it was still the 2010s. Mm-hmm. And they were asking for term papers. I was like, nobody's going to read a term paper ever. I'll build you a website.
Exactly. And so it worked so well with the way that I needed structure at the time and just the way that my mind worked. And I just felt like everything clicked into place. So as soon as I started that, I was like, I want to start an advertising agency, or I want to be the creative director of an agency or something like that. That was the direction that I wanted to be in. So I used like almost every project in school for my dog clothing brand, like my web project, built the website, like branding package, did the brand, all the stuff. So it was really fun. Well, through that, I was required to get, like, they call it an externship. You know, it's basically just an internship your last couple of semesters. So this guy that I knew through my mom had a small publishing company. They did trade magazines for local businesses. And I ended up doing that as my internship. So I was doing graphic design. They had magazines. So I was doing the layout. I was creating the ads. I ended up getting into writing, like some of the features and stories. But I really just fell in love with it. Yeah. And my boss at the time, you know, saw something in me and he was like, I think you should try and sell. So he wanted to launch a brand new magazine, totally different industry, no connections in that industry. He just thought it'd be a good opportunity based on what was out there. And he's like, I think you should try and sell advertising. I thought I never wanted anything to do with sales. I was like, that's not me, like, you know, whatever. But then he started talking to me about commissions and how that worked. And I was like, I'll give this a try. And if it doesn't work out, if I hate it, I'll just go back to doing what I was doing and it, you know, whatever, nothing lost. So with this new magazine, it was called Jewelry Business Advisor. It was for the jewelry industry. So independent jewelry stores would receive this magazine and it would talk to them about marketing, sales, leadership, technology, finance, all of the core topics that small business owners need. It was content marketing. That's all it was. The magazine was free. The advertising cost money. The advertising is how the business made money. But you get something really valuable and people want to read it. Then they see the ads, you know, and everything works from there. So that was my first real experience with content marketing. It's also my first experience with pre-selling something before launching. Of trying to break into an industry where I knew nothing. I knew no one. I was 21 years old and like had never done anything like this. So I started learning how to sell. Cold calling is what they had done. Like that was their sales model. Let's look at all the advertisers in these other magazines. Let's look at all the major businesses and we call them. So I started doing that. As most people didn't love it, you know, cold calling is the most brutal thing, but
I started out, my first couple of clients came off of cold calls.
So valuable though. The experience is just unlike anything else. If you start there, everything else is easier.
Well, and you did the necessary shift before you ever became an entrepreneur. You shifted your thinking around what it means to be a salesperson. And that is so powerful because, you know, if you don't embrace it as an entrepreneur, you're stuck.
And you're always at the mercy of someone else. You know, especially in the early years where business owners really have to do their own selling. Like most people don't see themselves as a salesperson. I didn't see myself as a salesperson. But what I realized was sales is just people. And I love people.
You step in and you start talking to people.
You do what you have to do.
Exactly. So when did you decide to switch from all of the work that you were doing for others to create your own thing?
Well, so I'll try and move the story along, but it's all interconnected. So I launched, you know, I helped launch this magazine. I did hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales to get this magazine launched. And there were 2 other salespeople who'd worked on the other magazines and I was out selling all of them. What was I doing? I was using LinkedIn. I was like, there's got to be a better way than this. I was reaching out to these CEOs on LinkedIn. I crafted like a really awesome message, was getting on calls with them. I'm like 21 years old, selling them advertising for a magazine that did not even exist yet.
Wow, killer.
And I mean, and I just fell in love with entrepreneurship. I was like, this is what I'm destined to do. This is what I'm meant to do. But I thought this magazine was like my future. So my boss at the time had like promised me a partnership on this. I mean, I was doing the writing. I was doing the design, the layout, the ad sales. I was literally the magazine, the website, I mean, everything. And I poured my heart and soul into that. Well, time went on and nothing materialized. Oh, no. I wrote him letters. Like I documented everything. I mean, this is even then I was like, you document everything that ever happens. So really the turning point came when he owed me like $13,000+ in commissions that I hadn't been paid. And I'm like a freaking broke bartender, you know, college student. That money was important to me.
Right.
Like I needed it for my taxes. Like this was really valuable. And plus just the trust and like feeling like I'd been strung along. So at some point I decided, I was like, I have to walk away. I can't keep putting myself in this position where I'm working so hard and not even getting paid what I'm owed. And being promised something that clearly is not going to happen. Yeah. So that was devastating to me because I loved it. And I was the reason this magazine existed. And to walk away from that, knowing that I have nothing now. I mean, it was heartbreaking.
Yeah. And you had to rebuild your trust in people again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I ended up suing my old boss and I won.
Okay. Wow.
I found a lawyer who did it for me on contingency. Wow. And it took 2 years, but I won. Wow. And I got my taxes paid. And unfortunately, my car broke down. I had to buy a new car and my HVAC system broke down. So all that money was spent very quickly, but I got more than twice what I was owed. Yeah. And I didn't have to pay my attorney for it. He was a blessing. Such a great guy. Wow. But that shifted so much in my life. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm still in college. I'm still bartending but I feel so empty inside. Like I know I'm supposed to be doing all these great things with my life. And I just feel like I'm in this transition period. So I decided to try and start another business. Well, this is around the exact same time that I met my now ex-husband. And we started a business called Live Wedding Caster. This was before Skype and like Periscope and all the live streaming stuff. And it was supposed to be for like destination weddings or weddings where, friends and family couldn't be there and they wanted to see it. Yeah. So it was very valid at the time, but at the same period of time is when those other platforms started coming out. Got it. And I was like, there's no point. Yeah. Like it's not going to make sense moving forward. So I was sad about that, but I knew I wasn't going to like stop moving forward, but I ended up getting married, got a house. I needed a job that like was not bartending. And so I saw some job ads for social media, graphic designer type of position at this large, like remodeling, renovation, retailer, design build company. So I not only applied, I went up there, and waited until the owner would speak to me. Cause I was like, I really want this specific job, this one. Cause I was like remodeling my entire house. I was still am super into interior design and construction. So I was like, I really want this job. I ended up getting that job and it was another blessing. Like my boss was a mentor to me. He didn't have to be. Yeah. He knew from day one. I mean, I told him, I was like, I'm going to start a business one day. Like I was very open with him about all of these things, but he mentored me in areas of business that I really hadn't had a lot of experience in. He was very analytical, data driven. Like that is where I really learned that, if the numbers don't prove it, then there's no point in talking about it. We're going to make sure everything is trackable. He spent a lot of money on advertising. So I learned how to do TV buying and radio buying. That's where I first learned Facebook ads. And I also saw all the broken systems internally. Yeah. These leads I was generating, nobody was following up with them. The salespeople, they were really just kitchen and bath designers. They weren't salespeople, but they were though, because this is the person who makes the sale or doesn't make the sale. Yeah. And so my goal was like, how do I eliminate the need for them as much as possible? Like just serve it up to them on a silver platter so that they can't drop the ball. Sure. Because I was being graded on the financial results. I was not, my boss was like, I don't care about your cost per click. I don't care about X, Y, and Z. I want to know how much money it's brought in. Right. And so that is where all of the data and tracking systems that I still use to this day really originated. A lot of the strategies that I used for that business, I still use to this day, whether it's in my business or other people's businesses. Yeah. And I was there for 5 years and it was an amazing experience in so many ways, but I knew I was supposed to start a business. Yep. I was so just discontent inside, like feeling like you're not living what you're supposed to be doing. And I just remember laying on the couch one night when we were watching Shark Tank and I just like start crying. And, my husband at the time, he was like, why are you crying? I was like, I don't own a business yet. And I was just, it was something that I just was so passionate about and so convinced that I knew that if I didn't do it, I was not going to be happy. And so I'd end up having my daughter. I never thought I wanted kids. I thought kids would stop me from achieving anything that I wanted in my career, professionally. But ironically, like, it's really the reason I finally took the leap, because I was like, I'm not for a second going to tell my daughter that she can achieve anything she wants to, or, you know, fulfill her dreams if I'm not living mine.
Without showing her. That's really powerful.
So I built my first website for myself while she was like nursing on my lap, you know, at a couple months old. And I originally, it's so funny though, because this whole time that I was working as the marketing director, I'm thinking about the kind of business I want to start. I always thought that I would have a business where I just used my marketing skills for that business. I used my sales skills for that business. I never actually thought, oh, you should start a marketing agency. Right. Like, it just didn't really click for whatever reason. And ironically, my mom, she was like in a job transition, and she's like, I bought this course on being a virtual assistant. This woman's making $19,000 a month, and you know, like 1,000 times more than she does. You should look at this. So I did go through the course, and I was like, she's right. I do like way more than this every single day. This woman's making almost $20,000 a month with just a handful of clients. Like, I can definitely do this.
Yeah.
And I even remember thinking, like, I remember exactly where I was. And I was like, I can't imagine making $19,000 a month. Like, that would be insane.
Right.
You know, and now I look back on that and I'm like, it's crazy to see where life takes you sometimes, you know, but so at that point I was like, okay, I'm going to start this business. I'm not going to do it haphazardly. I'm going to make sure I don't put my family in a bad financial position, because we really needed my income. Yeah. Can I get a water? Like, my mouth is super dry. Oh, yeah. My water's out. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm like, people are going to see my lips sticking together. Are we on? Do we have a time limit?
Yeah, but that's okay. I told him about 10 more minutes. He said no problem.
Okay. I'll try and move some of this along then. So anyway, my goal was, how do I do this in a way that just, you know, doesn't hurt my family financially?
Yeah.
I decided first, I was like, I think I want to do a course, because I did a lot of research on agency versus consulting versus courses.
Right.
So I was like, I think I should do a course, because if I actually go ahead and start the business, I'm not going to have time to build a course. So I did it while I was still an employee. I would put my daughter to bed at night, and then I would work until usually about 1 o'clock in the morning. Writing the content, recording the content, putting it all together. And so originally it was focused on construction, remodeling, real estate companies, because I'd had a ton of experience working with at the time.
Yeah.
So then I ended up transitioning my boss to a client. I kept my exact same salary, like what I made every month. But now I was able to do it from home. And I mean, I had like a 45-minute commute too. So that was huge. Like with a newborn, like, I just felt like I was missing my life with her. And so I ended up doing, you know, what I needed to do without even putting myself in a scary position. Like, I kept my security because I negotiated, you know, because I made the case for it. So I just started during that whole year, even like as I was ramping up to fully go full time, I was marketing hard organically. I was engaged in a lot of groups. I was doing a lot of stuff just social wise. I didn't have a lot of money to invest in my business at the time. I had very little money. So I just did everything that I could for free. And it worked well. Like, I started to really get a reputation as somebody who really knew Facebook ads and all these other things. I just, you know, tried to help people as much as I could. I was able to launch my business full time. I got a good number of clients pretty quickly. then I'm in the position where I'm like, oh, I'm working all the time. I'm so, my business is going well. Like it's my first year. I was doing
Everybody
more
hits
than,
that, right?
like
Everybody
doing more
hits
than
that.
6 figures, and I'm feeling good about that. But also like, I don't want to waste my life,
Yeah.
And so then it really just became a matter of, where do I really want to take this long term? I invested in several coaching programs. One of my coaches encouraged me to start a coaching program because I had a lot of other marketers and agency owners that were asking me for advice on things all the time, and I had nothing to sell them. We were strictly done for you agency. I launched my first program and I made $60,000 in 2 weeks, which was like life changing to me at the time.
Absolutely.
And it really just validated like, okay, there's a market for this.
Yeah.
I loved it. Over the next 2 years, I shifted entirely into that. Like I didn't stop the agency for a while. And then my other coach was like, you need to let all of this go and focus on this. And I was really scared, but I did it. And so going back to your original question, the mindset shifts.
Yeah.
Okay. The first mindset shift I think was that I was limited to making $19,000 a month. To me at that time, like it felt massive, and it is massive when I was making like $35,000 a year, $40,000 a year. That's
Your ceiling becomes your floor.
It does.
Yeah.
So initially, just what I had in my own mind was so much lower than what it could be, and I saw that pretty quickly. The next thing is like, you got to do what you have to do. That's all there is to it. I was working full time, had a newborn baby, and was spending 4 hours a night after she went to sleep to develop this first product. I was doing freelance projects, nights and weekends, to make the money that I needed to make to invest in my business. The other thing was investing in that first coaching program. Huge for me.
Yeah.
So I'm like a really frugal, budget conscious person in my everyday life. I've always been that way. That's how I started to approach my business. I realized I can't do that. Like it's not the same.
Yeah.
This is an investment. This is not me being frivolous. Just simply the act of investing in that first program was massive for me from like a mindset level, because it was the first time I'd ever spent that type of money on something.
Yeah.
And I said, you are going to get every penny out of this that it is worth. And I made that happen. I was not going to let myself spend that type of money and not get everything that I could from it.
Yeah.
I invested in my next coach, maybe like 6 months later. And so just being willing to pay for the shortcuts, pay for other people who had already been there through those things to give me a quicker path or a better solution, that was a massive one. Yeah. And also I think at the end of the day, it's just like one of my favorite sayings is new level, new devil. I add same God at the end. Because at the end of the day, like every single phase, you go through challenges, hard stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop.
No.
You don't stop having challenges. You just have different challenges.
Yeah.
You just have more expensive challenges or bigger challenges that may have bigger consequences if you choose incorrectly, So it's like you have to embrace the suck, I guess, is like the core concept here.
Yeah.
If it means a lot to you, like
Right.
you can't pretend that everything is just going to be peachy.
Yeah.
There will obviously be a lot of times where it's not crappy. Like things go well, but there will never be a point in which you stop struggling with something.
Right.
So you have to be focused on solutions and not problems.
Yeah.
And I've always kind of been wired that way, but at some point it's like, you're like, when is this going to get easier? And sometimes like it does. Where I am now versus where I was then, like it's night and day difference. But again, you just have different challenges.
So much so, I really believe it is embracing that. Remembering that entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart.
It's not.
The majority of people go in, collect a paycheck, leave. Don't think about that business.
You can't turn it off.
You can't turn it off when you're an entrepreneur. And I think it's what you said earlier, which is it's that when you were crying with Shark Tank, or that feeling from within.
Yeah.
And that doesn't go away even when you are running your own business. And even when you do launch the coaching program that you love, in my experience, it sort of amplifies. It's like, wait, but is this the purpose? Wait, but is this the purpose?
Yes.
Wait, where's my purpose now? How much more purpose can I create out of this? And it's just part of, you got to embrace it. You got to embrace
you
it because
do.
it's part of the experience.
And I do think too that it's like, if you're purpose driven and not money driven, it makes it easier because you'll have great months, you'll have less great months. You know, everybody's journey looks a little bit different.
Yeah.
But if money's your only motivation, it's not always enough to get you through, to stick it out, because it's easy to throw in the towel. And I think another thing is just like consistency, showing up. Like, this is not a sprint. I plan on being in business a very, very long time. You know, this is not a, let me hit a 7-figure year and I've made it. Like, that's not That's not what it should be. And that's certainly not what it is. It's like, you get to one level, you're focused on the next level, but that's not really what it's all about. Because if you don't let yourself, you know, celebrate the milestones and the wins, it becomes very empty. And, you know, you have to have a bigger purpose, I think. And sometimes we don't always know what it is in the moment. And sometimes we're literally living the things that will show us what the purpose is down the road, and we just don't know it yet. And so there's, you know, mindset is huge. Like, I've had mental health challenges over the years. I've had periods of, you know, I had a really long period of birth control induced depression. It was awful. And nobody knew what was going on. I didn't even really know what was going on, but my business still had to run. I still had to parent, like, all these things, they keep happening. And so taking care of yourself mentally and physically is so incredibly important, because if you don't, it's easy to either not eat because you're so wrapped up in work, and not work out because you're so wrapped up in work. Or, you know, you grab horrible food for you, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's very easy to let our environments of entrepreneurship make our health a backseat. And, but true. You are your business. Your business is an extension of who you are. Take care of yourself, and your business will be doing a lot better, because you'll be able to think clearly. You'll be able to make decisions from a strong place instead of a reactive place. And that was also a big thing for me. Like, I've always worked out and focused on health, but really realizing that, like, taking care of myself mentally and making sure that investigating my body, like, and seeing how those things tie together is critical for being able to sustain sometimes the pressure and the level of responsibility that comes with being an entrepreneur in general.
That's so true. And I really feel like there's the purpose from within and the impact that we want to make in the world. And then there's also the lifestyle design that we hope for. And I always tell everybody who ever hears anything from me, it's follow your internal compass, because not everyone wants a Jeff Bezos sized business. Not everybody wants to work across multiple industries. Not everyone wants to have the perfect little niche. Not everyone wants to have 50 employees. Some people want a lifestyle that looks a little bit different. And I think it's unique for every single person.
It is.
So something I ask every single one of my guests, because this is, you know, about Kismet after all, is when you think of your own destiny, your own Kismet, how you're carving it and shaping it. And for those of you listening as well, think your own answer to this. But Allie, for you, what is that next big thing that you're doing to shape the destiny that's unique for you?
Yeah. So I started writing a book series. This tells my whole story. So I kind of went through the high points. There's a lot of low points. But I've written my whole life. So I had these journals, and I always knew that there was a story in there. I didn't see it. I didn't see it as a 20-year story. I saw it as like a couple of years of my life that was just like a juicy novel-esque type of thing. Like, it just happened to happen to me. And I knew in the moment, like, this is really crappy, but also this is a really good story. And so I'd always planned on writing a novel one day. I always saw it as like that's just a passion project. That's a distraction. I'm too busy for this right now. You know, all of that sort of thing. Well, last year I was kind of forced into this situation where I had to deal with everything. You know, I've had a lot of traumatic things happen to me throughout my life, and I was always really good at compartmentalizing. And I just like put all this stuff in a little box over here and kept it over there, built my business, mom, you know, just did my thing. And I really kind of pretended most of the stuff never even happened. And then I realized that I could not do that anymore, that like these things seep into your life, whether you want them to or not. And so I ended up starting the process of writing these books. I used AI to help me do it because I had 6 full journals that I wanted to go through. I tried to upload the pages initially. That didn't work out. I ended up doing like voice transcription automations. That process alone, the writing process alone, was the single most therapeutic thing I've ever done in my life. And it was so unique because these are things I'd never told anybody. I'd never told anyone on earth the entire story. Maybe I'd told bits and pieces of it.
Yeah.
But for the first time, I felt like this safe space where I could unload everything with zero judgment. This is a thing. This is not a person. I'm not worried about you telling somebody you know or whatever, but also something that could give me real feedback. This wasn't just on the writing itself. This was like on my life.
Right.
And so I began to write these 6 novels. And I think I shared, when we sat down, like I'm about to start the process of getting the first one published this year, which I am incredibly excited about.
That's awesome. Congrats.
And the truth is that well, thank you very much. I believe that this is my legacy. Yes. I've always known deep in my soul that I would do something significant in my life. I have not felt like I have achieved that thing yet. From maybe somebody else's standards, they could look and say, oh yeah, but internally, I know that the true purpose that I have has not yet been fulfilled. And I didn't know what it was going to be. Originally I thought it was the AI system that we talked about. And I still think that is a very big part of how I will help people. It will truly be revolutionary and impactful.
Yeah.
But financial and business impact is only one piece of the puzzle.
That's right. Spiritual,
emotional, individual impact for a person who could read this story and see themselves in me or in any of the characters. Because there's a lot of characters in this series that have their own chapters. Like this is a 2-decade story arc of really about 5 different people, a little bit more. And there's somebody that will relate to everyone with pretty much any challenge, mental health, addiction, sexual assault, betrayal, friendship, faith, mental health, like entrepreneurship, mothership, identity, all of the things that life encompasses is in this story. And I decided that I was going to write something that was the most honest, transparent, raw thing I've ever written, because the truth is it's based on my journals that I wrote for no one to see but me.
Oh.
And I kept records, I kept the receipts of everything. And I believed that was intentional. I didn't know the purpose before, and I could not have written this before now because I didn't have the whole story. I wasn't in a position to even be able to do it justice until now. And so I'm excited to use not only my AI and automation skills throughout the process of writing it, first and foremost, which was super cool, but through the marketing and promotion of this. So I'm going to be running an auto webinar that ties in not only my business, but the books at the same time, dual purpose. I'm going to be creating an automated book launch, system for podcasting, PR, speaking opportunities, organizational, partnerships and things like that. Because like I said, I build things to solve my own problems. And then I know that other people's problems can be solved from those. So we'll see what happens with that. Like certainly will be a product that we will sell when it's done after it's been tested. But I know just for me personally, if I can use my skills and my existing infrastructure to support something that I truly believe in with all of my heart, that I really believe will change lives, I don't even care if I sell the system, but that'll help somebody else do the same thing if they truly believe in their mission too. And so sometimes it's just about looking at everything you've gone through, every experience you've had, the good and the bad. When I was 23 and I was suing my boss for not paying me and having to walk away from this magazine that was everything to me. Like I didn't know how invaluable that whole experience would be at the time. The sales experience, the resilience that it took, learning to document everything, and also showing me that, yes, you were made for entrepreneurship without a doubt. Like those things, I could have just been like, oh, that's awful. I broke everything that I built and now I have nothing. But I truly believe that every single thing we go through leads us to the point where we are either in the right place, the right time, the right position, mentally, emotionally, physically, in ourselves to be able to do the thing that really matters. And sometimes we just couldn't have done it any sooner, and we're constantly trying to rush through things sometimes, not realizing that the journey is the thing that prepares you for whatever the thing is, but you also have to keep your eyes open and look for it. Sometimes things don't just happen to you. Like you can let them pass you by if you're not paying attention. So it is just listening to that voice inside. What do I want? What do I want my life to be? What does impact mean to me? Yeah. What kind of legacy do I want to build? Am I motivated by money or am I motivated by something greater than that?
Right.
And I think when you really do the internal work, everything else gets easier because we do see things a lot more clearly. And maybe we've been trying to build the business that's opposed to the actual life design that we want. And we don't realize that because we've never taken the time to think about what is it that I actually want? What does success really look like for me personally, individually? And for me, that would look like to publish these 6 books, make a massive impact. I'm selling my property right now, which is a huge life transition. I bought a 61-acre farm and built like a compound. And then I got divorced and I asked myself, is this what I want?
Yeah.
Still, and it was what I wanted. Sometimes we have to live the thing to realize that maybe it's not what we need, or maybe it's not what we need right now. So still the property, fingers crossed, that I will be moving to is like, it's closer into town. I will have an easier opportunity to get in front of real people. That's a big challenge I have right now is I feel isolated a lot of the time. But also on like a 7-acre lake, it's still like country, but it's nice. Not far out. And so I really like the outdoors. I like natural beauty. I love writing and I love business. So that is the life design that I am working on right now. Yeah. And it's not anything I could have predicted at the beginning of last year. My life has changed personally in every way from last May to right now. But I'm here for it. It's been the hardest year of my life, but also the most transformational year of my life as an individual. And I know that will bleed into what I do business-wise, because again, like it's all connected. So I know that I was being prepared for what happens next, and I'm ready to go all in on it. So lots of fun things that I'm really excited about right now.
I love that. Well, I appreciate this entire conversation. What you've really shared and reminded me of too is that our destiny, our kismet, what we create, it includes everything, not just money, not just business, but life and the messiness and the beauty of that and the legacy we can leave. And I really appreciate you for being one of those people in my life that's willing to share all the real stuff. Absolutely. And all the successes and all the messes that come with this beautiful thing we call life. So thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. I think we all should just be like, let's share what's real a little bit more, tying back to what you said at the very beginning. It's like, if AI is writing everything, is it going to share the messiness emotionally, mentally, physically behind the scenes? No, because it doesn't have a soul or a mind or a heart. Yeah. So let's be real people and connect with each other in a way that is lost a lot of times through the world of social media and online. So
100%.
Here to bring it back.
Love that. Love that. Thank you for tuning in. You can check out the links in the description to connect more with Allie and see what she's got going on. Definitely will get my hands on one of those books as soon as they are published. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been great.